Government will continue to improve employees' interests. In international, no salary increase announcement causes complaints in Kenya. And in sports, 39 players to represent Tanzania in AFCON announced. Good evening, this is Capital News at 9:30. My name is Khadija Zimbwe. First, the national news. The President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, has said that the government will continue to improve the interests of employees depending upon the growth of the economy, and asked them to be patient as the government implements development projects that are in the interest of the nation. As a guest of honor of the Labor Day celebrations, which were held nationally in Mbeya this year, the president said that his pledge to increase the salaries of public workers before he leaves office is still in place.
Last year, I'd made a promise during Labor Day celebrations that before I leave office, I will increase staff remuneration. This is absolutely true. I promise that, but you must realize that I'm still in office. However, what I've decided to do is to invest in big development projects which will benefit workers, farmers, livestock keepers, and fishermen. We urge the government to allow salary boards to meet so as to carry out an evaluation on whether the salary workers are currently paid meets their needs, and to carry out a research on the right pay. Some workers have not had a salary increase. We believe that you will continue to lead. We would very much appreciate it if we could have an increase. However, we appreciate also that you have a lot of responsibilities, and will leave that request in your hands. There has been formation of workers' unions in their areas of work, as well as workers' councils in public institutions, which are essential in providing a platform for discussions and finding solutions to various challenges faced by workers.
59 wards in Fumagila, Kishili Ward, Nyamagana District, Mwanza region have no place to live after 59 houses collapsed and roofs were swept away by heavy rains accompanied by strong winds. Following the incident, some residents have asked the government to give them aid to help them cope with the situation.
Some houses are badly damaged, and we've been forced to seek shelter in a secondary school for those with nowhere to sleep. I asked the government for relief aid. We ask for assistance. It is not just us who have been affected. Our neighbors too are in need of help. Some have nowhere to live. Nonetheless, we are grateful that no one has died. We ask the government to help us if it is possible. Despite of this disaster happening, we are glad that no one has died. However, the rainwater has damaged some food items and property. Regarding food, local government officials working in association with neighbors have started to give out food aid and providing shelter to those affected.
The government has opened a Ruby Center at Namanga, which is the border between Tanzania and Kenya, that will work for 24 hours, 7 days a week without being closed. The small-scale miners claim that the opening of the center will prevent them from being swindled, as they have been conned by buyers of minerals from inside and outside the country.
We have customers interested in buying ruby, but they are scared of being conned. But now technology has advanced, and if we are to advertise our products, we could get very big customers. I assure you that the level of customer service that you will receive from this center will be excellent. If you feel like it's not safe for you to return home with the precious stones, then there is a place where you can keep them. Honorable President gave an order for all regions with minerals to honor the directive given, and in Arusha we've honored that. The advantage of having a mineral center is it provides security for dealers.
Lazima iwe ni sehemu yenye usalama wa uhakika. Hapa kuna usalama wa uhakika.
The Ministry of Land, Housing and Human Settlement Development for the first time given title deeds for land that is 30,145 hectares in 4 villages of Kiteto district for livestock pastures so as to resolve the constant conflict that had contributed to disruption of peace between livestock keepers and other land users in the district.
I would like to tell you that the certificates which you have received prove that you are the legally recognized owners of the Olengapa feeding area for your livestock. I would like to add that if anyone were to use this feeding area without your permission, I can assure you that you would be able to take them to court and actually win the case. Speaking on behalf of the Olengapa livestock farming community, I would like to thank the authorities for creating this feeding area for our community. I would also like to urge the authorities and the government to ensure that this feeding area is not used for other purposes such as politics, for example. I would like to say that the process to obtain this feeding area required a huge amount of money to be spent. I would also like to profess my satisfaction at being able to take part in this ceremony to hand over certificates of ownership to the Olengapa livestock farming community.
Drivers and transport stakeholders who use the Tanzam road heading from Dar es Salaam to southern African countries have complained about the fact that acts of corruption take place at road inspection stations, where they say that each driver is required to pay a bribe of 5,000 shillings. In addition, the drivers and stakeholders have lamented that they received documents late from the Tunduma customs station in Songo region, which is a challenge that prevents them from crossing the border on schedule.
I know that the government has long hands. They should just take a car and go at least to Chalinze, where they'll catch police officers. From Dar es Salaam to Vigwaza at the top, you only need to pay 5,000 shillings and then you are able to pass. If you have 2,000 shillings, you are told to wait, but you must have cash. This is what is happening. Drivers are troubled every day. When they come here, they should check the documents and then ask in the yards how many of them are here. They will find out some have 20 days while others have 15. It appears that especially in clearing, that is where the problem lay. The document can come out on the 20th and you come to get called on the 26th or 28th, and when you get to Zambia, you are the one responsible for developing the document, not them. There is a process called pre-arrival declaration, where when the cargo begins its journey from the Dar es Salaam port to the port in Mbezi, it takes up to 6 a.m. when it has already been sealed and checked. This has not been a problem.
The government's efforts to promote local tourism in nature reserves across the country have begun to bear fruits after over 2,000 tourists visited Magamba Nature Reserve, Forest Reserve in the past 4 months.
Since we implemented this strategy, we are seeing a lot of success. In 2015, we had 500 visitors, but in 2019, so far, we've had 2,000 visitors. So this clearly shows that through radio and television, it can be a success. In Christmas alone, we had at least 600 visitors.
Kila mfano ITV.
We worked with ITV Super Brand, where a group of students came before Christmas and made others also want to come. We must start a culture to protect our forests so we can have more tourists coming in. I'd like to commend TFS for inviting us to promote our natural attractions in our country, Tanzania. There is so much that we have, and yet we have no clue that it exists in Tanzania. So I'm happy to be interviewed by ITV because it has a very big coverage.
The ongoing rains in various parts of the country, including Morogoro region, have caused floods in some areas and even cut off the connection between main Mvuha-Kisaki Road, causing residents to fail to cross from one side to another and development activities to temporarily halt.
We asked for a bigger bridge to be built. We use water for cooking and other household chores, and you can see it is not suitable. The situation is real bad. Without a bridge, people from either side have no means of crossing over. The rain has caused excess water to flow in. I ask for a bridge to be constructed.
New Tanzanian citizens from Burundi living in Kampemba, Nsanda and Ijenje suburbs, Kanoge ward in Simbo district have complained to the government for kicking them out of their land, which is inside Mpanda forest, and they have been living in for more than 40 years, despite the president's directive that residents within reserve areas should continue to use them.
Today we've received some news which could be oppressive. We had a primary school with more than 200 students who have been asked to leave. We have no idea where they are. I took the officer in charge of agriculture to show the size of my farm. I have more than 12 children. Will this be enough to sustain them? I ask those in charge to see if we can be given more land. Land set aside for refugees was clearly marked, but they kept pushing the boundary. If you were not informed that you had entered the forest reserve area, you should have done so before giving you an area set aside as a reserve.
Transporters of wood in Mafinga have asked the Ministry of Natural Resources to implement the directive by President Dr. John Pombe Magufuli to remove the section that bans transportation of forest harvest at night that he gave on April 10th of this year in Mafinga, so as to allow them to cope with competition in the market.
There are no disabilities where I am from or where I'm going. It is just because of checking the load from where it is coming from to where it is going. How much you have harvested and whether if we can continue harvesting like that. One wonders that if you have harvested like that and if we continue harvesting in the same way, will we have a forest at the end of the day? Regarding the issue of raw materials, they should be assured by the government that if you buy a certain machine, you will get this amount that will help you in reducing the debt. After we saw that we decided to attend the meeting, the stakeholders will have their questions and the government will speak as well as the stakeholders. The machine people will also speak and the bankers themselves will speak as well.
And that is the end of national news. International news follows shortly after the break. And in international news, Kenya has joined the rest of the world in marking World Labour Day, and in this year's celebrations, which were prepared at the Uhuru Park Gardens, Kenyans have complained of the life hardships, especially after the government did not announce increase in salaries, especially for those of low incomes.
We are still in the process.
We are still in the process of negotiating the additional minimum salary. we're discussing with employers and workers' unions so that if there shall be some salary increment, it will be announced next week.
Naweza sema
We're not happy with the government today. There is nothing that has been changed or upgraded as citizens. We don't need house mortgages. They shouldn't cut any amount of money in our pay slips. For that, all we need is salary increment.
hiyo ndio naweza sema.
Employees in the Democratic Republic of Congo have complained about their situation, stating that it is very bad as they have no employment, as those employed are families of politicians.
It is not possible for a worker in Congo to resist temptation once it comes to money, because our very own government indirectly allows its people to embezzle government funds.
Inatumwa mfanyakazi aweze kuiba pesa za kiserikali.
We have finished studying, but there are no jobs. I suffer now because of unemployment in this country. If you look at workers in Congo, there is no salaries, and if it is available, then it is not enough. People can't build their own houses, and they fail to take their children to school. How will they be able to feed their families?
The African Union AU has said that it is with deep regret as the military authorities in Sudan have not handed over power to civilians. Reuters news agency reports the AU had shortly after President Omar al-Bashir was overthrown 3 weeks ago given the military 15 days to transfer power. Now it has given the coup leaders another 60 days to step down in favor of civilians. If they fail to do so, this Sudan will be suspended from the AU. AFP news agency also reports. The military leaders have been holding discussions with protest leaders and opposition figures on how to manage the transition to democratic rule. And that is the end of international news. Sports news follows next.
Hi, my name is Kotaro Tokuda.
What's up? My name is Céline Garnier.
I'm John Barnes from Liverpool Football Club. The hip, hop, I hip it, the hip, hip, hop, you don't stop the rockin' to the bang, man. Boogie say up, jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Now what you hear?
I'm watching Sports Gazette.
I'm watching Sport Gazette.
And you're watching Sports Gazette
With Sebastian.
With Sebastian. Peace out.
Yes! And you can also watch Sports Gazette for highlights and interviews regarding sports. Do not miss Sports Gazette every Wednesday at 7 p.m. only on Capital Television.
And in sports news tonight, the Taifa Stars head coach Emmanuel Amunike has announced a squad of 39 players who will represent the country in the Africa Cup of Nations, which includes 2 youth players.
Countries in the AFCON, I think we have to continue to maintain our discipline. We have to continue to work very hard. It is true. We are new. 39 years is not a day. But I believe in one thing. If we believe in what we can do, if we continue to work hard, from the players, from the media, we all need ourselves, we all need the support from everybody so that we can collectively position Tanzanian football. I think this is the way I reason. What will happen in the AFCON is totally, we don't know. But I believe we all have opportunity like the rest of the team.
Tanzanian coaches have been urged to instill team strategies to their players as their talents are there in the country, but the players are not playing as a unit. The call was given by Southampton coaches that were brought by SportPesa to train Tanzanian coaches.
No, it's been good. Obviously, only been with them for 45 minutes, but already the players, they're very coachable. So they take on board the information and then put that into practice, which is really good. So they're keen to learn. We did a reflection at the end, and their understanding was really good. The thing I've probably just grasped in the last 40 so minutes is that individually they're good, but they just need to work more in units. So that's probably an area for focus for this group anyway, is their unit work. So if one player goes, what does the secondary person do, and so on from there. So it's been really good.
Fantastic opportunity for us to come here and hopefully be able to give something back to the coaches over the next 3 days. Hopefully we'll be able to instill our philosophy, our academy development philosophy to these coaches, be able to teach them about what it means to play for Southampton, to be part of that academy, and to ultimately coach within this academy, and hopefully give the coaches who are here the ability to be able to go back to their clubs, their universities, their schools, and be able to hopefully teach the practices that they've learned over the 3 days with us, and hopefully then better the development of their own players as well as their own coaches.
It's again, we will talk about planning. In Africa or maybe in Tanzania, most of the coaches, when they go to do a session, they don't do planning. So they just go everything on the head. So today we're going to concentrate on planning and do the planning and review it. So this, I think, is one of the main objectives as a coach. You cannot leave your home or your house before you're going to do your work without planning what you're going to do. So we in England, we do this week in, week out. And then planning comes with the syllabus. So the coach who plan, they should have a syllabus. So in those syllabus, which we call it macro, and then we go to meso and micro, that's all about planning. So today they're talking about playing out of the back.
The South African 800 meters Olympic champion Caster Semenya has lost her landmark legal case against the athletics governing body, the IAAF, in a decision that will send shockwaves through sport. Here's the story.
It means Semenya will have to take medication to reduce her testosterone if she wants to run internationally at events between 400 meters and a mile. The surprise verdict, which was announced by the Court of Arbitration for Sports after 3 arbitrators had spent more than 2 months deliberating over the complex and highly contentious case, came even though CAS agreed that the IAAF policy was discriminatory to athletes with differences in sexual development DSDS, such as Semenya. However, 2 of 3 arbitrators accepted the IAAF's argument that high testosterone in female athletes confers significant advantages in size, strength and power from puberty onwards, and said the policy was necessary, reasonable and proportionate to ensure fair competition in women's sport.
Barcelona manager Ernesto Valverde has warned his players that they have to be ready to ride out the sudden storm when it comes to or risk a heavy defeat against Liverpool tonight. Here's the story.
Valverde said they are very strong, extraordinary up front. They press and play with a very high rhythm and pace. Asked whether his team will be ready physically for those bursts, Valverde replied it's not so much physical as psychological. Valverde also dismissed suggestions that his team have an advantage over Liverpool, having tied up the league with a 1-0 win over Levante on Saturday, noting that it is only one game in which Barcelona do not have to compete in the league and Liverpool do between the first leg and the second.
Kevin Durant scored 29 points and established an early defensive tone against James Harden, leaving the Golden State Warriors past the Houston Rockets 115-109 on Tuesday night for a 2-0 lead in their Western Conference semi-final. Harden got hit in both eyes early but was able to return and finish with 29 points and 7 rebounds on a night booze regularly greeted both him and Chris Paul at defending Oracle Arena, where the Rockets complained after a 104-100 Game 1 defeat that the officials missed foul calls when the Warriors closed out on Houston's 3-point shooters. Here more details.
Was regularly treated, both him and Chris Paul at defending Oracle Arena, where the Rockets complained after a 104-100 Game 1 defeat that the officials missed foul calls when the Warriors closed out on Houston's 3-point shooters. Paul celebrated and cheered when Harden drew a foul on Durant in the closing seconds of the third on a very such play.
Harden converted 3 free throws to pull Houston within 82-75 going into the final 12 minutes. Harden then scored 7 straight Houston points during one stretch midway through the fourth, including a 3 at 7 minutes and 25 seconds that go on the Rockets with 92-89. Stephen Curry connected for a key 3 at the 6:31 mark on the way to 20 points.
And that sports item ends our news bulletin for tonight. My name is Khadija Zimbwe. Thank you for watching and good night.
This week on Turning the Spotlight.
So what we are doing right now is to introduce energy alternative technologies. Very simple technologies. We are also introducing the social media